Hello, shot callers. Welcome back. Today, we take a departure from the normal format to bring you a truly inspiring, grounding, and I believe integral part of thriving as a human being. This last June, I organized a retreat called Reflect, Refresh, and Renew here in Rouge-le-Grand, Switzerland, where I live. I wanted to bring back human connection after the long COVID home hiatus. And I asked a good friend of mine to do a Pilates session. I myself did a session on both longevity and investing. And I asked another good friend and coach to do a session on the power of thought, which ended with a lovely meditation session. I love Sylvia's session so much, I wanted to share a version of it with all of you. I have a shirt that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are always right. And this shirt is a great reminder for why we need to check in regularly with ourselves and our thoughts. Our dinosaur brain only wants to keep us alive long enough to procreate. It doesn't care about keeping us happy. We as humans are way more motivated by fear or lack of loss than, or not lack of loss, than by opportunity and gaining even emotional well-being. With this podcast, Sylvia will take us through a powerful session on how our thoughts can impact us on every level, positive or negatively. She'll talk a little bit about how we battle stress, anxiety, mood swings, and how this impacts us in every level at work, at home, and in our relationships. And we will end with a sort of meditation session as well. Who is Sylvia Beasley Suffolk? She's a coach and a consultant who has developed a simple process for helping, and I love this, heart-centered, passion-driven leaders increase their positive impact in the world. Sylvia has a science degree from Cambridge University, a certified chartered accountant, and has more than 15 years in senior leadership roles across financial services and consulting. Sylvia has also coached me, and she has a vision of heart-centered leadership, which I just think is fantastic and what the world needs right now. Welcome, Sylvia, to the Shot Caller podcast. Say thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure because you said the gong.
Oh, I forgot about the gong. Okay, we'll edit that out. Let's see. Well, let's do this one more time. Welcome, Sylvia, to the Shot Caller podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon, for having me. It's a real pleasure to be on the podcast here with you. I'm very excited, and especially on a topic that's really very close to my heart, the power of thought. Because the more time I spend looking into this, the more mind-boggling I actually find just the importance of our thoughts. So I'm really excited about what I'm going to share here today. And actually, to be honest, it's something that I wish someone had shared with me 20 years ago.
Word. Before we get started, I wanted to ask you a quick question because I didn't read out your whole bio, but you're working with a lot of top level leaders in really well-known firms, I think around the world, not just here in Switzerland. I wondered, are you finding people much more open to discussing this than let's say 5 or maybe even 10 years ago?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great question. Yes, I really feel there's a huge shift happening, just even in the terms of the vocabulary that we're talking about, like energy. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have talked about energy.
That would have seemed like, hocus pocus, right? Somehow.
Exactly. And so, I mean, science also catching up with a lot of kind of the philosophies that the ancient philosophies, it's proving more and more kind of what I guess ancient wisdom has always taught us. And it is definitely becoming much more part and parcel of modern life. And I do see, especially as in corporates, it's starting to become much more prevalent. And people are, what I'm finding is people are thinking about it for themselves a lot more. I don't know how much they're talking about it yet, but I think that's kind of the movement towards that for sure.
So you have your work cut out for you, but people are more open to it anyway.
Definitely more open.
Well, it took us long enough to get here, and I'm a perennial optimist, but sometimes I'm like, oh God, we really just need to move it along, people, move it along. We can do better. Good. So why don't you tell us, maybe outline for us what is it you're going to talk us through? What should we hope to kind of get out of it, and then how maybe to implement, how you think we should implement that going forward?
Yeah.
And then go.
Perfect. Yeah, happy to. So what I find, and also what came up for me as you did the introduction there, is, when we find ourselves in stress, anxiety, even depression, what tends to happen is that we a little bit feel like we're in the passenger seat of the car, right? We kind of feel out of control. And to me, what I'm hoping to share with you today, like what I'm hoping you will get out of it, is that you have a tool that gets you a little bit more again into the driver's seat. That's essentially kind of what I try to do. And that's not to say that we are going to be in control of everything that happens around us, but it's also not a magic bullet solution. I believe the human journey does involve ups and downs and positive and negative emotions and challenges, but it is about being able to be in the driver's seat. It's, I think, Charles Swindon said, life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we respond.
That's
true. Yeah. And that's essentially, I want to share a tool today that really shows why that is the case, and just how much power we actually do have with our thoughts, and also by actually processing our emotions. Those are two aspects that I feel and I see are really, really important. And so I'm going to be, sorry.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you, but we'll be publishing this podcast during the month of October, and theme wise, it's sort of mental and physical well-being, just overall well-being, but kind of a special note that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. And it's kind of a special, in a way, a love letter to women to remind them to take care of themselves. I don't know if I'm throwing you kind of off your path, but if you have a comment about our thoughts and our health, and our physical health, I would just be curious as well if you looked into that and have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, for sure, actually, because our mental, there's some, thought path theories that actually say that all physical health is a representation of our mental and emotional state, that actually it all happens and then the physical body just essentially responds to it. So I believe there's a very, very close link, and I do believe with the power of our thoughts, and there's plenty of stories where people, through visualizations and some of the elements that we go through today, like essentially cured themselves and healed themselves. So it is definitely there's a very direct link, and it's interesting that you bring it up. It's a topic that's very close to my heart. I lost my mother aged 16 to breast cancer, and so it is, and it's interesting because it is said that when you look at that link between the mental and the physical, actually it is said that if you have breast cancer in the left breast, is about not being able to receive nurturance from others, and in the right breast it's about nurturing others too much and not nurturing yourself. So it's so interesting that you intuitively made the link between let's look after ourselves, because
interesting.
Like one theory that plays into it, of course.
No matter what, our thoughts are powerful, so we just need to make sure they're serving us.
Exactly. And they really are. They essentially create our experience. So that's exactly what I want to do today. So I want to take us through a framework that I've developed that basically builds on some well-established theories and just shows in a little bit different way, so that we really see kind of black and white the power of our thoughts. And then I'll take us through for me, there's 4 steps where we can intervene to really get more into that driver's seat. And then at the end, we'll do a couple of little exercises, and then we'll put that together to create a meditation that also hopefully, people can come back to whenever they feel like, they need to get back into the driver's seat.
Oh, awesome. I'm excited.
Cool. Me too.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. I'm going to go straight into the framework. For those of you who are watching this on video, I'm going to share a slide. For those of you who are just listening on audio, I believe you'll still be able to follow it, but know that the slides are here.
Yeah, and they can go check it out on the podcast website, and then of course on YouTube. So one way or the other, we'll make sure that they can see those slides.
Perfect. So I'm going to share my screen, or you need to enable me to share my screen.
I can do that. that work?
Let me try. Yes, that did work. Okay, perfect. So essentially, let's see if this works. Yeah. So this is a framework for how we create results. And I'm just going to talk us through it a little bit. So essentially our thoughts and beliefs, I'm bucketing them together for the moment and we'll divide them out a little bit later. But our thoughts and beliefs lead to our emotions, which then lead to our actions, which leads to the results that we see. And the results that we see, to me, it's essentially our reality or our experience of reality. So it is our health and well-being, including our mental, emotional, physical health. It is our relationships, the quality of our relationships in different areas of our lives. It is, our career success. It's financial and time freedom, abundance. It's all that. So by results, that's kind of what I mean. That's essentially the life that we create for ourselves. And I believe this equation, thoughts lead to emotions, lead to actions, lead to results, is relatively well known. A lot of coaches, consultants, therapists work kind of with that framework. Now, I find there's a couple of interesting elements that I've added over time. So one is from quantum physics, essentially helps us understand that everything is energy, literally everything, and so including us. And energy essentially vibrates at different frequencies. So essentially what happens is that our emotions create a certain frequency in us. And actually the frequency of the emotions can be measured. There's a chart that shows the different frequencies at which emotions vibrate. And essentially, so we vibrate at a certain frequency, depending on our thoughts and emotions, that then also, because energy attracts like energy, determines essentially what opportunities we find around ourselves. And of course, we can only act on the opportunities that are in front of us.
Okay, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Is this, and if it's wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong, is this akin to when you walk into the room and you feel a particular energy, whether it's negative or positive or excited or scared or something like that? Is this kind of an element of that?
That's what you're picking up. Exactly. Often we tend to just live on our five senses, right?
Yeah.
But actually there's something beyond that. There's energy. There's an energy in a room. You're right. Like sometimes you walk in, you're like, something's off without anyone having said anything.
Yes.
And that's exactly it. You pick up on that vibration in that moment. Yeah. And those vibrations really do determine what we attract to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does bring in the opportunities that we can then act on.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is that this equation holds true no matter what we feed right at the front there, the thoughts and the beliefs. And that's really where the power of thought comes in. Because no matter what we feed, the beginning of this equation will determine our results. So really, the power of our thoughts is immense. And the way I think about it, there's kind of three buckets that we use to feed our thoughts and beliefs. One is our past. So things that we've experienced in the past, like an easy one or an obvious one for many of us could be like, well, I can't lose weight. I've tried so many times. I've tried so many diets. It just doesn't work for me. It's something based on past behaviors that we see. Or like a belief that often is implanted in us is like, you have to work hard. Again, that's something it's a belief that was repeated to us when we were a child that kind of comes from our past. The other big bucket is the present, what we see at the moment. Oh, I've lost my job. The economy is bad. It's going to be hard to get a job. It's like, whereas, I lost my job. The economy is thriving. It's going to be easy to get a job. Like it's a thought or a belief based on what we perceive as the present circumstances. And then the third bucket, which I believe there's a huge opportunity to use much more, is essentially what we want, our desired future, our desired results. And we don't use it very much. I believe the one bucket of people who are well known to use it are professional sports people. They do a lot of visualization around how they want that match to go, how they want that race to go. And they replay that in their mind again and again and again as to how they want it to go. And I believe all of us can make much, much more use of that. And so that's also the first, I talked at the beginning about kind of there being, 4 places we can attack this. That's the first place I attack with my clients. It's actually being clear, what is it that we want? Because often that's much easier asked than answered. Often we don't actually know what we want. And it is in each of our areas of our lives, right? Including, of course, our health. And so the first point here really is the clarify what is it that you want to create. And the aim of that is really to also feed our thoughts and beliefs more with what we want and less with what, we may be perceiving to be happening right now or things that we had in the past. And then the second step is to work straight on the thoughts and the beliefs, right? It's kind of where affirmations come in, because we all have these patterns that run, these beliefs that we're not even necessarily conscious of. And so it's really looking to repattern those automatic thought processes that we go to.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
I listen to podcasts like crazy all over all different types of topics. And was listening to an interesting one the other day. I can't remember if that's the one I shared with you or not, but it was on that just thinking positively all the time isn't actually realistic or effective. Can you tie that into this discussion about shifting our thoughts and beliefs, but at the same time giving ourselves the space to say, I'm suffering right now. I can't just positively talk my way out of that. And I can give you an example, and you can, if you want to, use this, but I have been trying to get in better shape really quite hard this last year. Well, really in earnest in January, but for the last several years, I've changed my diet. I've been making all these positive steps, and I've had some success in some measurements, but not necessarily exactly on the scale. And we were getting ready for Oktoberfest, to go to Oktoberfest. And I couldn't find my dirndl, which I actually hate anyway. And I always wanted to get rid of it. But I got myself into the cycle that I can't get another dirndl until I go down at least 1 or 2 sizes. And then I couldn't find this dirndl. I didn't have a particularly bad day. I had a busy day. And at the last minute, I just fell apart emotionally. I had to take my Swiss test the next morning. So I was stressed about that a little bit. But all the stuff that had been bothering me, trying to make my podcast grow the audience, the resources I take from the family to promote this business, not just money, but time, it all hit me so hard out of left field. And I just was like, how can this one stupid dirndl unravel me in this way? I rallied myself to go to Oktoberfest, and I promptly saw all these people having a good time. And I was miserable. So, I mean, you know what I mean? I tried to talk myself out of how I was feeling, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really, really important point, which I think all of us have exactly those moments, right? And there's a term sometimes used as toxic positivity. So
I've heard that term. Yeah,
because so for sure we want to, our thoughts have power, and we do want to see the glass as half full. We want to move towards that, but absolutely not at the expense of suppressing emotions.
Yeah.
And so this actually is beautiful, because it brings me to the bit that I believe doesn't get talked about enough, and that I'm going to bring in here, because it's what I would call the energy body. Yeah. So the energy body, and I'll link it back to your example in a moment. So the energy body to me is like the mental, emotional, and physical body. Like we have all three.
Yeah.
And the energy body essentially, it has a lot in it, but it also it holds our subconscious beliefs and our unprocessed emotions. So let me talk about the subconscious beliefs first. So especially when we were children, we didn't have the conscious mind to filter, to go, oh, do I want that belief? Do I not want that belief? So literally everything went in. And we're not even conscious. And a lot of this comes from our past. We're not even conscious of some of those core beliefs. So, we can plaster all we want, kind of like, I'm going to be fit and healthy, I'm going to lose this much weight, and so on. And we may even be taking the actions. If there's a core belief, I will never be in shape, or in the shape that I want, that we're not even conscious of, then that is never going to happen, because that energy body acts as a thermostat. So those subconscious beliefs, they're sabotage us, they pull us back. Does that make sense?
It does. I just want to know how you get through that, but you're going to tell us, right?
Yeah, I'll come to that. But just to touch in on the unprocessed emotions as well, because that's what I feel came up for you in that moment, right? Because so every emotion to me has a life cycle. And where we like let that emotion run its life cycle, I mean, everything's energy, including emotions. It literally just dissipates. We may have had this experience when we've soothed the child. Like if we allow that child to just feel that emotion, literally 2 minutes later, they'll be happy as Larry, like nothing ever happened. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah.
And it's the same for us, but most of us were conditioned and still continue to break that cycle midway and suppress it, push it away. Also because of this dynamic that we have. So, oh, I'm not supposed to feel bad. I'm supposed to feel good. I'm going to push this aside. I'm going to focus on positives until so many unprocessed emotions have built up that one little trigger leads us to explode, which is the example you kind of gave. And so that's where it's so important to work with the energy body. And I think some of the, you know, the positive thinking or the law of attraction doesn't account for those things that are stored within us, or that we also keep storing, like creating within us, by not allowing ourselves to feel the feelings in its full. So absolutely, I do believe, so where an uncomfortable emotion comes up, it's really just, we also, because we're wired to, as you said right at the beginning, you know, to seek pleasure and avoid pain first and foremost. When an uncomfortable emotion comes up, our kind of ingrained response is not to look away, right? Not to acknowledge it. But where we can teach ourselves to actually just feel it, it dissipates. We can literally go into the body and just, you know, rather than create a whole story about it, go into the sensation we're feeling in the body and breathe through it, and it will release. Okay. So that's for sure one practice, also to feel the emotions and then go back to the positive thinking.
Good.
And so the third thing that I also work with a lot with my clients is clearing the energy body, both clearing the past and learning to process the emotions in its fullness today, like we just talked about. And you're right, like how do we get rid of those subconscious beliefs? That's kind of, you know, the $1 million question. And I believe different things work for different people, and there's a lot of different ways to approach it. For sure, there's the traditional therapy, right, that I do feel has a place in processing those small traumas or bigger traumas, whatever there is in the past that really keeps us stuck. There's alternative treatments like hypnosis or those sorts of things that essentially look to do the same thing. They look to repattern our subconscious beliefs. There's also, I'm a fan of body work. Like I actually think a good masseur or like an acupuncturist works on the same thing. They don't really work just on the physical body. They work on the physical, emotional, and mental body, and they do release these things.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. And then there's direct energy work. And I actually work quite a lot with direct energy work. So I work with the chakra system quite a lot. And I work with really clearing out the chakras. Because again, like, those unprocessed emotions tend to be stuck within that emotional body. So that's definitely a process. Let's put it that way. That's definitely a process, but to me, it's an important one where we want to create change, because this is the thermostat. It's also, to me, it explains why it's so hard to make changes, because where we have things that we haven't worked through, like that keeps us back. Now, I'm not a fan for going down into that and trying to release everything, because that's just a never-ending rabbit hole, to be honest. I feel like where we set ourselves a goal, a desired future, those things that we need to release or are ready to release will rise up. And where we do that work, then we can achieve that. And to me, that's a little bit of human journey, right? We go, kind of seek the next thing, and then something comes up that we can process. Does that make sense?
Otherwise, it's overwhelming, I think, to think you've got to fix all of these things just to achieve one goal.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the third step, the clearing our energy body. And then the fourth step I look at is taking the strategic actions, right? Making sure, okay, where we have a certain goal, like be it our mental health, emotional health, physical health, be it a career goal, whatever it is, to make sure that actually the actions that we take are strategically aligned to that goal. And where we do steps 1, 2, 3, that becomes a lot easier.
And, you know, in a way, giving you a commercial, but with all sincerity, this is where coaching helps, because it's hard to do this on your own, right? I mean, even if you know all these things, what you actually have to execute, even if you had someone printed you out the instructions, the accountability, the insight from somebody else is where I think helps to get you over the hump.
Absolutely. And I mean, I work myself with coaches as well, right? Because I absolutely believe that, because the thought patterns are so deeply ingrained that we go into automatic, like it's default, right? And so we do need someone else to point that out. And also the subconscious, some of this work, as we've just discussed, is like this, it's bringing the subconscious into the conscious, and you need someone else's perspective on that. Often it's things you don't see yourself where someone else can see it for you. Same with the emotions, like a lot of like processing emotions, like grief is, like a lot of it is grief in the smallest, doesn't have to be a big loss, but like even small losses, even job changes, projects ending, that those are losses, and we need to learn to process those. And actually grief is a communal activity. You actually have to grieve, be witnessed in your grief to completely resolve it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the overall framework. So what I thought we'd do today is play a little bit with the steps 1 and 2. To really kind of, give you a little tool and also a flavor of what can be done with this work. So if we start with the desired future, so if we take, actually, you brought up the beautiful example of, your physical, and I presume your mental and emotional health are tied into that. Where, what is your vision for that?
I guess I kind of have a vision of because I love the water. I love being on the beach. Of course, we live right on the lake, and so the water is a big part of our lifestyle, especially during the summer. And I think I have the simple, although in action doesn't seem so simple, goal of never wanting to feel hesitant to run on the beach, play with my kids, paddleboard, in a swimsuit. I'm not necessarily looking to achieve, the supermodel body. And actually, I've never really cared about that. I had quite a good figure up until I was, hit university, and I don't know, carbs all of a sudden decided that we didn't get along anymore. And, all that sort of thing. So, yeah. So I think I definitely, health and fitness for me go together. I don't just want to be skinny. I want to be fit. I want to really have a good fitness level so I can play tennis, so I can paddleboard, all that kind of stuff. But I want to feel good externally as well. I mean, that's just part of it.
Yeah, beautiful. And you bring up a really important point here, which is your why, right? I think when we create whatever vision we create, it's very important to know the why. And what I heard underneath there was like, actually, because you want to have fun with your friends and family.
Yeah.
And you really want to be free in that. And you want to feel comfortable in your body so that you don't, it's not even on your mind, because you can be really present with it, which is beautiful. And so once we have kind of the idea of it, and you've already brought it a little bit to life, what would be really nice to create is a snapshot in our mind of really. So maybe I would ask you to choose one example of what, like, when you feel like that, when you feel completely comfortable in your body, you feel fit and healthy, like what's a scene, just one scene in your mind that would really represent that for you?
Where I am now, or where I'd like to be?
Where you'd like to be.
Oh, where I'd like to be. Okay.
Great clarification.
I for some reason, I'm just kind of thinking paddleboarding, because you're standing up and you're just kind of, you can't hide anywhere. So somehow paddleboarding is both the fitness, but also the visual of it.
Yeah, beautiful. So where you're standing on a paddleboard on the lake, what are you seeing?
And also, just as an aside to that, is abs. For me, paddleboarding is a good core, and that's one of the things that I'm most insecure about, is my core, and gives me the most real mental anguish over anything else. So the paddleboard is kind of this place where I see, if I'm comfortable enough to be on a paddleboard, it means both I feel good, and also my core is, helping me and supporting me. So that's kind of what I visualize there.
Beautiful, beautiful. So as you're standing, really imagine yourself standing on the paddleboard. You're standing, tall. You're feeling good about your abs. You're feeling good about being seen. What is that? Tell us a little bit about that scene. What do you see? What do you feel? Maybe even what do you hear, smell?
I can see it, but I don't believe I can get there.
Let's go with it. Let's go with it.
Okay. Okay.
And then we'll come back to the belief.
Okay. Yeah, I think I definitely hear, the water, the waves, splashing. I love looking at the shoreline when you're on Lake Zurich, because you never see so many of these houses when you're driving by them, because they've got the walls in front of them. So when you're paddleboarding by, of course, love the animals. I love to see the geese and this, oh, we don't have the geese, the swans and the ducks, and just the wildlife, the flora and the fauna. Those I really enjoy that.
Beautiful. You're hearing the sounds of the waves. Like, is it the sun? Like, do you feel the sun on your skin?
Yeah. I feel, warmth, maybe not so much. Definitely kind of a warmness. And I think kind of freedom too. For me, being out on the water has always been a sense of freedom. And I'm a water sign, so I just generally feel much more comfortable in and around the water.
Yeah, beautiful. So we're really looking to bring this alive, right? As though it's happening, so that when we close our eyes, you can really be there. Like, exactly what it would be like, or what it is like to live that moment. What's the core feeling that comes up for you as you put yourself in that image?
I think pride.
Beautiful.
Yeah, feeling like, imagining the feeling of, achieving that goal. Or and maybe it's not even a goal, actually. I think it's, for me, I mean, it is technically probably a goal, but it's also a lifestyle that I've chosen, a lifestyle of fitness and well-being over, something else, I guess. And it works.
Yeah. Hey, beautiful. So there you have a really clear image, and that image we can work with. And one nice way to work with, and we'll work with it in meditation in just a moment, but one really nice way to work with it is just to remind yourself of that image 3 times a day. I mean, it takes 30 seconds max, but just go, close your eyes and just be there, because that's where we start to embody it already. That's where we're starting to kind of repattern our thoughts and beliefs in our energy body to feel that is true. Now, you mentioned a really, really important thing right at the start, which is but I don't believe it. I can see it, but I don't believe it. And so it's working on that belief, right? And it's through repetition that we create that belief. But if you had to put that in one sentence, what would be the one sentence you would say to yourself to represent that life? I am.
Gosh. I don't know. I'm capable. I don't know. I'm not sure.
What came up for me as you were describing is I am fit and healthy.
Yeah.
And confident.
That's the belief. Okay. That's a better way to frame it. Is that?
Well, it's to be specific, right? Because capable, you're clearly very capable, right? You're already capable. Your subconscious doesn't necessarily need to be repatterned to that. Whereas there's something around the physical health that you want to repattern, because there's something that you believe you don't have yet. So what words resonate with you? It's I'm fit, healthy, confident in my body.
Yeah, confident. I mean, that makes you, I mean, those words definitely send a message of, I think confidence is certainly a big one for me there. Yeah.
Well, it's the one actually that, as we're honing in on it, it's the one that you brought up. It's you want to feel comfortable and confident to be running around. So maybe we use that one. Maybe you want to adjust it kind of as you play with it, if you decide to play with it further. But so, so that we have the image that we can go into, and then we have the affirmation, and this kind of goes into the step 2. We have the affirmation that we work with, which is I am comfortable and confident in my body.
Okay.
Comfortable and confident in my body. You can play with that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm at my ideal weight, feeling comfortable and confident in my body.
Yeah.
And that's an affirmation that you can repeat to yourself. Again, as you maybe 3 times a day, as you do the visualizations, you can repeat it, and we're starting to repattern it. Now, what is interesting is that, because you just said earlier, but I don't believe it. So we want to, like, that again, you know, it's like it comes into this dynamic where we don't want to look away and just pretend. We don't want this to turn into toxic positivity.
Yeah.
So one little exercise, it's a journaling exercise actually that we can do, is to write that sentence. Like, take 5 minutes or so, set yourself a timer, and write the sentence, the affirmation, I am confident and comfortable in my body. And you repeatedly, you write it until, and it will pretty likely happen very quickly, until a contradictory thought comes up. And then you write that contradictory thought, and then you go back to your affirmation. And then when the contradictory thought comes up, you write a contradictory thought. And essentially it's a way to access those subconscious beliefs. Because as we write it, everything within us that doesn't believe it is going to come up. It's like, no, but I've always been like this, but no, you will never, because no, but you don't deserve, right? All those things will come up. And literally where we write every single word, like it's kind of also, it's a form of stream of consciousness writing. So where we write every single word that comes to us in that moment, we really get to those underlying beliefs, and we bring those subconscious beliefs into the conscious. And now once they're in the conscious, we can do something about it. Does that make sense?
It does. And is it also a way of letting those negative thoughts come out, and just instead of staying in hidden in the depths, and then they kind of come out and run back behind, you know, a wall or something? So maybe, exactly,
because what we resist persists, right?
Yes,
where we just
I believe that.
It stays. Whereas where we acknowledge it and go, okay, there's a part of me, it's only ever a part of me, right? There's a part of me that believes that. How willing am I to let that go? And then we can then we get into the whole realm of inner child work, which, you know, that's kind of where we go into, okay, where was that belief formed? What's the earliest memory I have of that? And we have an inner dialogue with that child of ours and go, okay, how willing are we to release that belief today? So that's kind of a whole other process. But where we start by even identifying them, often just seeing them on paper allows it to release.
Yeah.
It goes, okay. And then it's gone, right?
I can see that. Yeah. Okay.
So, but the other thing that happens, and then we will bring it together, is, again, you brought a beautiful example for this earlier, because what happens is that we get into this fight and flight mode, right? You already mentioned kind of the more kind of reptile brain which literally just hijacks that, right? And it's called an amygdala hijack. And we go into fight and flight, and we can't even think clearly anymore. And we really just can fight, flight, or freeze in that moment. And so there's an SOS mechanism that we can use in those moments to come back down, so that we don't go into the full meltdown, still acknowledge the emotions, but don't kind of spiral in them, I guess. And so the first thing we can try is actually putting our left hand right at the back of our skull and our right hand on our forehead. And energetically, what that does is essentially because the back of the head is where kind of the more reptile brain is, and the front of the head is where our neocortex is, the more evolved brain. And so essentially what we can imagine is our left hand takes energy and our right hand gives energy. So we can literally imagine those SOS moments. You can just do this without the visualization, or you can visualize your left hand kind of drawing out energy from the back of your brain and giving it to your right hand that puts it into front of your brain. So that's the first kind of SOS move that we can do when we find ourselves spiraling. And then the other thing to combine that with is the breath. So our parasympathetic nerve, we can maybe take our hands down while I explain this, but our parasympathetic nervous system is that of rest and relax. And we activate our parasympathetic nervous system through the out breath. So normally what happens is literally also, it's like when someone scares us, we go, right? Yeah. Literally we hold our breath. And in that fight and flight, we hold the breath, or it becomes very shallow. And so where we can consciously go to the breath and especially breathe out, we really activate the parasympathetic nervous system. We come out of the fight and flight, and we can think clearly again. And so we can combine the two just briefly. It's we put our hands here, and then we just take a breath in, and then
For
safe
sure.
for the count. I always feel like it helps to count. So if we take in a breath to the count of 3, like in 2, 3, and then out for 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2, 3, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2, 3, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can do that like for as long as it takes us to calm down.
That's very relaxing.
It immediately switched our states. I'm always
Yeah.
astounded, like where I remember to do that, and I'm not going to claim I remember this all the time. I spiral just like anyone else, but where I remember to do that, I'm surprised. For me, it generally takes 3 breaths for me to calm down. And then we can look at things more depthly, right? And we're not hijacked anymore. We still want to feel our emotions, but we're a little more in charge, back in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
To that kind of analogy.
Okay. I guess that is not a bad thing to teach kids as well, huh?
Well, I actually had a moment. It's funny you say that. A couple of weeks, my oldest son he had a lot of homework, and he was in a mood already when he started. And, we had about a 3-hour drama around it, and he did about 20 minutes of work in that 3-hour drama. I think we've all been there. But it was very interesting because towards the end of it, he'd worked himself into such a state that like he was almost hyperventilating. So I was like, lie down now, put your feet up against the wall, because also that like the blood flow, because promise the blood flows out of our body, out of our head into our body, because it literally gets us ready to fight. And so by putting the feet up, it like reverses that body flow. It's like put your like your feet up above, like against the wall, so you kind of like that. And then like I went behind him and I put my left hand on his skull, and it's my right hand on his forehead, and I was just breathe with me. He's like, I can't do it. It's like, yeah, you can. And literally within 3 breaths, he like completely released.
Wow.
He cried a little, and then he was happy as Larry for the rest of the evening. I was like, I wish I thought of this 2.5 hours earlier.
Well, that's great. That's a great tip, because we sort of published Screen Schooled 1 and 2 in September, talking about, the detriment of digitalization, too much digitalization for kids, gaming. Boys tend to be more addicted to gaming, girls, social media. And these are great little tools now on the positive side of things for parents to help both young kids as well as, the teens and ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just whenever we find ourselves in a pattern, and it can be fight and flight, but it's also absolutely with addiction, like, where it gets into addictions, like it's a pattern, right? And so where we can break it, I mean, I'm not saying it's as easy as that, but it is a tool that we can use to just break that autopilot pattern that's running.
Good. I like it.
Excellent. Cool. So what we could do now is bring this together in kind of a SOS meditation, where we start a little with the breath. We take that a little bit deeper through a body scan, which relaxes us further. And then we do a bit of grounding. I'm a big fan of grounding and feeling kind of the earth beneath our feet, again, to just get us really into the moment. And then we can go into that image of the desired future. And really, it's kind of, will probably be a 10-minute or so, maybe a little bit longer meditation that we can use to really, in those moments where we're feeling kind of that contracted energy, that stress, that anxiety, to reconnect us with what it is that we want, and also the emotional states that come with that.
Okay.
Good. How does that sound?
Shall I ring my bell?
Go for it.
Everybody knows. Everybody listening, wherever you are, as long as you're not driving a car.
Exactly.
If you're in a safe place, take a few minutes and listen to Sylvia walk us through kind of a meditation of sort of, I was going to say grounding, but that's not quite the right term.
Grounding, I think, is a good term. Yeah,
a grounding. Okay, a grounding meditation in times when we need to come back to ourselves or really in overwhelm. So here we go.
All right, welcome to this meditation. So take your meditation position, whatever that is for you. It can be on a chair with feet flat on the floor, or on the floor, maybe cross-legged. I prefer sitting down, but you can also be laying down if that's kind of what you need right now. Where you're sitting, make sure that your spine is tall and the back of your head is over the base of your spine. And then start by just tuning into your breath and observe for a moment what's going on in your body. And then you can place your left hand at the back of your skull, just at the top of your neck, and your right hand on your forehead. And we'll take some deep out breaths. So we'll breathe in for the count of 3 and out for the count of 6 for a few rounds. So in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you can relax your hands into your lap, either palms up or palms down, whatever feels more comfortable to you. And already sense if there's been any change to your state. And then we'll do a quick body scan. So bring your focus, your attention to the top of your head and relax all the muscles at the top of your head. Relax the muscles in your forehead, around your eyes, your cheekbones. Relax the muscles around your nose. Relax your jaws and the muscles around your mouth. Relax the back of your head. Relax the muscles in your neck. You can maybe swallow to relax your throat. Relax your upper back, your shoulders, your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms, the palm of your hands, and all 10 fingers. Relax the muscles in your chest, in your torso, and in your pelvis. Relax the muscles in your upper, your middle, and your lower back, especially around the spine. Sense your seat getting heavier as the muscles of your upper body relax. And then relax the muscles in your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, the soles of your feet, and all 10 toes. And just once again, bring your attention to your top of your head and just allow any remaining tension to flow out, top to bottom, into your feet and into the earth. Bring your attention to the middle of your brain and just imagine there being kind of our analyzing brain, the one that kind of wants to compute all the time. And just imagine a dimmer switch on it and turn down that dimmer switch. Down, 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 all the way off. So you've turned off kind of your analyzing brain. And just sense your body relaxed, your mind at ease. Now bring your attention into your pelvis and imagine a green ball of light there. And from that green ball of light, imagine coming out a stream, can be a stream of green light, a stream of white light, it can be a waterfall, or it can be a tree trunk, whichever image resonates with you. Imagine that coming out of your pelvis, out of that green ball in your pelvis, and going down into the earth, all the way through the layers of the earth, into the middle of the earth, connecting you to the center of the earth, grounding you. Sense your body getting heavier as you do that, feeling the safety and security of being held by the earth beneath you. You can make that grounding as wide as your body to really feel it stabilizing you. And then you can imagine or sense a green light coming up through the layers of the earth, all the way into the soles of your feet, filling your feet with green light, filling your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your hips, your pelvis, moving up through your torso and into your heart center in the middle of your chest. And sense how that green light, that green energy is nurturing you, supporting you, helping you feel safe and secure. And on the in-breath, you can breathe in that energy. And on the out-breath, you can imagine letting go anything that you're ready and wanting to let go of down through the grounding. Any emotions, physical tension, mental agitation. Let it go on the out-breath and feel yourself being filled up with nurturing energy from the earth on the in-breath. And then you can bring your attention about 300 feet up above you and imagine connect to a white source of light there. And imagine, sense or feel that white light flowing down, 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 down onto the top of your head and into the top of your head, filling your skull, filling your entire brain, your entire head, your face with white light, bringing clarity and ease. And feel that white light now flowing into your throat, filling the entirety of your throat, flowing down into your shoulders, into your arms, down your arms, into your hands, and down your throat, also into your chest, into your upper back, where it meets the green light in the center of your heart. Connect to that nurturing, grounding energy, green energy from below, and the uplifting energy, white energy from up above that gives you clarity and ease. Sense those two sources of light, the green and the white, intermingling in your heart center. And then send that mix of green, white light out from your heart center into every cell of your body, and then out of your body into the surrounding area around you, about arm's length in each direction. Imagine yourself being surrounded by that green, white light. It's forming an egg shape around you, helping you feel safe, grounded, clear, and at ease. Now, in your mind's eye, bring to mind the vision that you have for yourself. The image of that which you want. It might be yourself standing on a paddleboard, feeling comfortable, confident in your body, hearing the water around you, the sun on your skin. It's just one example. Whatever image it is that you want to create for yourself that really represents the life that you want to live, where you are fully confident, happy, joyful, in excellent physical, mental, emotional health. Transport yourself into that moment as though it's happening right now. And within you, as you do that, you feel a sense of pride at having become that person who lives that life. Sense of pride and joy at the positive impact that's creating for those around you, your loved ones, the wider community, anyone you interact with. Feel into the happiness, the joy, even the gratitude you feel for living that life. It's right here for you right now. And if you haven't already, automatically bring a smile to your face. And really revel in the beauty of that moment. In the confidence you're feeling. The joy you're radiating. The connection, the love you're feeling with those who are around you in this scene. You might feel that those sensations, those emotions in your heart center, and allow it to expand, to open up. And then you can let go of the image and really just sit in the sensations in your body. Sense the ease, the happiness, and the joy. And set an intention for yourself to carry those positive emotions through the rest of your day. And to remember that where you may encounter something that triggers you, big or small, to connect to your breath, to use the out breath and the visualization to come back to the state of peace, joy, confidence, pride, and happiness. When you're ready, you can bring your attention back to your breath. And as you do so, just sense how your body might be feeling different, your body and your mind, to when we first started. And then I'm going to count us out from 5 to 1, and on 1, we can open our eyes. So feeling grounded, safe, clear, and happy. 5, 4, 3, feeling grounded, safe, clear, and happy. 2, 1, open your eyes.
Very nice.
How are you feeling?
But I'm like, when I lay down and go, I want to be on the beach. That's great. Thank you so much, Sylvia. I think that's something definitely people can come back to and enjoy and center.
Yeah, and it's astounding. I do a meditation group, a weekly meditation group, and it's always astounding to me really within 10 or 15 minutes, we can completely change our state when we allow ourselves to really drop into it.
It's a great reminder. We've added meditation. I actually got my husband to get into it a little bit. But as it goes, you get busy and you really, I've started to try and put it actually into the calendar. And it's really just 15 minutes and of actual meditation. It might only be 5, 8, or 10, but it's that protecting that time and just, it's so important.
Yeah, and even just using the SOS breath, right, that we did right at the beginning, like just even using that for 2 minutes makes such a difference to our state.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that.
And our ability to hold the positive thoughts.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a joy to be here.
Yeah, I love it. Why don't you tell everybody how they can reach you? Of course, we'll link things into the notes as well, but how they can reach you, how you kind of work with people. Do you do weekly, monthly, quarterly, kind of where your sweet spot is? I'm sure you work in a lot of different ways, but maybe the core ones.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you can check me out on shinetrue.world. Or you can email me directly at sylvia@shinetrue.world. And essentially, the way I work with people, I tend to have an initial call. I think it's such a personal coaching and consulting. It's such a personal thing. Like both sides need to make sure that, the chemistry is right. And also that initial call kind of gets us really clear on, what the person wants to achieve and whether I'm the right person to help with that or not. And then essentially, I work pretty flexibly with people. Kind of I guess for sure, like I like to work with people for at least 3 months because that's just the amount of time it takes to create change. And we tend to start by creating the vision. So we kind of do that a little bit in between sessions, and we tend to have one session to really go deep into, what is the vision that you want. And next we look at the blocks. I actually do an assessment with people. It's called the energy leadership assessment. You've actually taken it yourself, where really the blocks that come up, like that, it really is a way to show those limiting beliefs, those subconscious beliefs that may be at play. And then once we have those two pieces, we essentially work towards achieving your vision. And there it becomes very flexible. Like sometimes it may be an hour-long session to really dig deep because we need to kind of repattern something. But also increasingly what I'm doing is even like working with people for 3 months with just speaking 15 minutes every week. Because once we have the vision clear, once we've identified some of the core beliefs that are getting in our way and have started to use the tools to repattern that, as we've touched on here today, it's really about implementing that pattern on a regular basis, because we come out of it and it's just the 15 minutes together a week that really goes, okay, what happened this week? What worked? What didn't work? Okay, let's next thing, that worked, let's try this now as a next step. And so that we're really building the momentum towards that vision. And at times we'll go, okay, something deeper came up. Okay, so next week, let's do 30 minutes so we can address that. Or next week, let's do an hour so we can address that. So I work quite flexibly depending on the need in the moment. But what I have found is really the regular check-ins really help to create that momentum.
I can see that. And you also, I think, do speaking engagements as well with corporates and things like that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I do speaking for corporates. I tend to have a very kind of, as if you've seen today as well, and as we did our retreats, and I do the same with corporates. I'm a big fan of hands-on. I'm a big fan of experiencing it, whether it's meditations, whether I have a workshop that I do quite a bit with corporates on values. It's something I like people to walk away with, something they can use, because as Mary Morrissey says, inspiration without action is just entertainment. And I really know we can consume so much. And I'm a big fan of like actually giving something that we can work with that's actually going to make a difference. And that's different for everyone, right? And but that's really what I try to do. And it depends a lot on also what in this case, what the corporate wants to achieve in terms of which topic we focus on. But essentially, to me, it's always those 4 steps that we talked about. Like it's the vision, and values also play into that vision. Who do we want to be? It's the, the repatterning of our thoughts. It's the working with our energy body. And then it's really also being strategic about, where do we spend our time and what is it that we do?
Gosh, yeah, that's a big one for me. I think that I've spent too much of my life feeling good in the ticking off the little things and not spending enough time on the harder things, which you're not going to figure out in a day. And I want those little wins all the time. And I'm trying to unravel those bad patterns to work on something that I know it's going to take me weeks or months to achieve. And I have to, but that's where the rewards are.
Well, it's great awareness, right? And I've recently started, well, a couple of months ago, I've actually started with a daily process of like really checking in the morning and in the evening what's important. And it's been very interesting because I have changed how I spend my days, because by doing that on a regular basis, I was like, why am I spending time on this? It's not actually where I want to go. And sometimes that those things creep in really just because it's what we do. And so it's very powerful to do those assessments and kind of go, okay, like this is actually what I want to achieve, and I'm going to put that, because as you said right at the beginning, we're wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. And so those short-term hits, like I got this done, but then we never get to long-term stuff.
Oh, it's so fascinating. Yeah, I'm really curious and want to learn more about behavioral science, and on all levels, on my personal level, also when it comes to investing and some of those biases that exist. I want to do a session on that so people can understand why people home bias or all these different type of investment biases that cause people to make really bad short-term decisions. So both in a personal level as well as the mission of trying to empower people with financial and investment confidence, really. And so all of that, it all comes together.
Yeah, and it's all run by the subconscious, essentially, right? I mean, they say 90% of our actions and thoughts are run by the subconscious, and it's all about those biases and becoming more aware of it.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We will make sure that we can link everything back to you. And yeah, everybody reach out to Sylvia. She's wonderful. She was integral in me launching this podcast and helping me with that vision. And so I indebted to her for that, and just really love everything that she stands for. And this heart-centered leadership is fantastic.
It's been a pleasure to be here, Shannon. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome, Sylvia. Thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And namaste.